I'm back, baby.
If a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a video tutorial is worth 30,000 words per second, right? FPS jokes. So I'm gonna break this hiatus that I've been on with a project that has been on the back burner for as long as the YouTube channel has been up. I'm gonna call it community service, where whoever would be so inclined as to send me a clip that they're not too sure how to film, or they're wondering how to fix the filming, I'll take that clip, I'll recreate it in my own session, detail for detail, as you will see, and we'll see how I'll go about fixing it. There it is. So let's take out the very first clip of the series by my man DATEN'S sensei. Sent me this clip. Let's full screen it. Let's take a look at it together. Now, he sent this on Reddit asking about advice for the filming, and he got a bunch of good advice, including my own, and he ended up fixing it himself, alright? We did talk in DMs though, and he was still curious on how I would go about fixing this, alright? And just to vouch for this guy's improvement, here's some of the more recent stuff he's been putting out. I'm telling you, it's a little bit mind-boggling how far he's come in such a short time, alright? But definitely, Daten, props to you. You've clearly shown that you care about this aspect of fake skating and skating in general, alright? Filming is half the battle in my opinion. Alright peeps, without further ado, let's fire it up. Let's hit up Les Coleman. Alright, so here's what we got to work with. Like I said, I recreated this to the T, alright? I tried to pay attention to as much detail, including everything that I deemed a mistake. Let me put down a huge shout out to Daten one more time, because the actual skating, it took me about, honestly, an hour to get the tricks down, right? It's just way out of my comfort zone. I'm not used to skating these kind of long lines with really techie weird combos and bordering on Tony Hawk kind of stuff, right? So that was really tough, and I'm really happy to have really pushed through it. As you can see, I wasn't even able to land the Smith at the end, and I barely did a nose slide, if you call it that, in the middle after an hour, right? In any case, amazing skating, definitely took me out of my comfort zone. I'm happy for it, alright? And this is what the clip looks like in the end. So this is what we're gonna have to fix. This boils down to what I was mentioning in my other tutorial about filming a line. The camera is bopping all over the place. It's trying to be left and right, front and back, and it's kind of doing everything at the same time, alright? And the reason for this is that there's too many keyframes, and also because the mentality behind the keyframes is cool keyframe after cool keyframe after cool keyframe. I mean angles, cool angle after cool angle, without much worry about what happens in between those cool angles, alright? So take a look at this monstrous amount of keyframes, alright? Now Daten, I'll agree with you. Each of these angles are cool. This one's a good one, this one looks good too, this looks great, this is amazing, but when you keep putting in one keyframe after the next that look cool in your mind, what happens in between these keyframes, camera goes all over the place, and it's no bueno, alright? Now let's bring it back. To fix this, we're gonna fix this in 4 steps, alright? And here they are. Step 1, put one cool keyframe in the middle of each trick. Only one. That's it. Next step is going to be put one keyframe for each push that the skater does. Alright? Next is going to be put one keyframe for each pop and each land. And the last step is going to be minor details. It's really important. It's going to look like garbage up until this last step. Alright? So, in the middle of each trick, let's start. We have the tray flip. Let's keep this. We're going to work with the artist's original vision, alright? This is a cool enough keyframe. let's go up to the next one. I like this one, but I want to put something in the middle of the slide. So this one looks good. Everything in between this and the tray flip, remove it. No mercy, all right? There. Next, same thing for all the other tricks.
47 seconds later.
Maybe let's keep this ending shot here, and that'll be good. This was step one. You should start with this one cool keyframe per trick, all right? This is the only moment where you get to put in cool keyframes to your heart's content, all right? After this, you're locked in. Before moving forward, let's lay down a few ground rules and clarify a few things. Otherwise, this video is just gonna be the ramblings of a madman, all right? So, first of all, what do I mean by we're locked in? Check it out. The camera is now on a general trajectory, following the skater along their line, all right? So starting now, we want to stick to this general trajectory and just make sure everything is getting framed properly. And we start by focusing on the pushes. Now, let me use this moment right here to explain why we want to focus so much on the pushes, all right? Free cam, montage view off. This game is programmed to make the skater's speed bump up instantly as soon as their foot touches the ground. You saw that? They're going at this speed, touch, speed, all right? Now you want your camera work to take that into account and make sure the clip doesn't look janky despite the fact, all right? Another thing I want to clarify is we're not just going to start putting keyframes in willy-nilly, all right? We're going to have a method about it. And how do we go about this is we're going to start thinking now about filmer speed and position in the timeline, all right? Not the skater, the filmer. What are they doing? What should they be doing? Where are they? Where should they be? All right? Here's how we go about that. And honestly, this is a throwback to what I was explaining in the other tutorial about filming a line. This entire approach is what saves your clip and also what's gonna prevent future camera jank from even occurring, all right? So watch this. Here's how to think in terms of filmer speed and filmer position, all right? Your skater is going along a line, all right? If you move your filmer forward along the skater's line, you're speeding up the filmer. If you move the filmer backward on the skater's line, you're slowing them down. This is the camera movement that is the most felt by the viewer in clips, all right? That's why your camera does this during your clips, is because the filmer speed jumps from fast to slow, trying to jump from one keyframe to the next. The other adjustments you can do that are less felt but still present is close or far to the skater, perpendicular to their line, up and down obviously, and camera angle. These have less of a big impact on this bumpy camera work that we saw in the beginning. And knowing all that is not enough. You also got to be able to evaluate where is your filmer so that you can know what to do with them. And it's very simple how to do that. Let's get into it. We have a push here. Let's use this push as an example, all right? The filmer, turn on montage view. If you don't know where you were, just turn off and on again, and it puts your camera back where it's supposed to be. The filmer is way in front, so we're gonna slow them down. And I'm gonna choose to have a angle that's low to the ground here, all right? Focusing on the following, right? I remember that DATEN wanted the camera to follow the skater, all right? And let's go forward a little bit. We got another push here. Let's just have a bit of a difference between each keyframe. So we're gonna speed the filmer up a tiny bit. We're gonna have a close-up on the board itself, all right? There. This might work, this might not. We'll figure it out in the later steps. But for now, we just want to focus on each push that we get, all right? So let's start from the beginning. We just did those two at the end. Let's start at the beginning now. No push here. We got one here. All right. Where's the filmer? Montage view off and back on. Let's bring the filmer down, camera down, maybe speed them up a tiny bit, but also get them closer, all right? Get them closer to the skater here. There we go. What's next? Here's how we look for pushes when they're off screen, all right? Turn off montage view and watch your skater go along. There we go. We just saw a push. Now you turn your montage view back on with the push occurring. There's the filmer going too fast. Let's slow them down. This is the phase in which your adjustments can be quite major. You can slow down your filmer a ton, and that's why we separate pushes from pops and lands, alright? Where's the next push? Well, there it is. So let's just set in a keyframe right now. I remember Daten was trying to go for this follow cam kind of effect the whole way through. Let's get this close up on the shoe. I love putting close-ups on the shoe every once in a while. And is there another push after the frontside flip? Yeah, pretty much right away. So let's have the filmer behind the skater again. I want them to hang around on the quarter pipe while the skater finishes their trick, alright? This is a good enough shot. Another push. See, now we gotta speed up the filmer. So let's speed them up. Make sure we get the camera out of the way of the foot. Don't want to hit the camera with the foot, alright? Always save the camera. Now what do we got? Oh, that was sick. Hang on, that was really sick actually. Maybe a tiny bit exaggerated, but I like it. I like it. Maybe bring the speed a little bit down. Alright, see, happy accidents. I love it when that happens. So that was step 2. 1 keyframe for each push. Let's move on to the next one. Alright, big chunk out of the way. That took a lot of time, but in fact, we just added like 5 or 6 keyframes at most. That would have taken like 30 seconds. It's just because I took the time to explain the reasoning why I do everything, alright? If you get the overall method and approach that I use, then the rest of these steps are gonna make a lot more sense to you, alright? So let's bring it back. And besides, we have a lot of new things to deal with this time around. So, 1 keyframe per pop, 1 keyframe per land. Let's go. I'm gonna be a bit more specific here. We wanna add a keyframe if it's not framed properly, alright? So the pop here is just fine. We don't need to add anything. What about the landing? It's a little bit off center, so we can afford to add in a keyframe. Maybe even keep the camera a little bit lower to the ground. And let's see these 2 keyframes very close to each other. Let's see how that works out. See? Camera snaps from one to the other. This is exactly the kind of stuff we need to deal with now in this phase. So here's how to separate keyframes from each other while preserving your general camera orientation and everything, alright? Go to the keyframe that's bothering you, bring the cursor back on the timeline. In this case, I'm gonna bring it back to the pop. I'm gonna add a keyframe in here, and the one that was bothering me, I'll remove it. Now you'll see the camera snaps to where it would have been if this keyframe never existed, which is fine right now. Skater is center, we see the trick, and it's fixed. See? Easy peasy. Again, takes a long time to explain, but it takes 5 seconds to do. Next pop, right over here. These adjustments, again, keep them minimal, keep them minute, alright? Bring the camera down to the ground, bring the camera in close a little bit. That's it. We're probably gonna clip in. Yeah, we're clipping into this rail a little bit. That's fine, we'll fix it later in the next step. A landing. I've got one right here. Maybe we can compensate for the fact we were clipping into the rail. Let's bring the camera just a little bit up. Frame everything properly. There we go. That's fixed. This pop, properly framed. I like it. What about the landing? A little bit off center. Let's put in a keyframe here. See how it works. A little bit robotic. The camera moves a little bit too robotic for my taste. So these 2 keyframes, too close together. Let's bring the camera back on the timeline. Set in a keyframe just before the pop. Remove this in the middle. Much better, smoother. We're gonna clip through the boob, that's fine. Now we're quite far from the skater for this frontside flip, but this keyframe, I want to keep it. If I add in a keyframe here, we're gonna be way too close to the other keyframe. Let's move back the cursor. This is where we're gonna add our keyframe. Maybe we want to speed the filmer up just a tiny bit. Keep the camera low to the ground. Center everything properly. See how that looks? Okay, let's get one for the landing as well. Boom. Back the filmer away just a tiny bit. Get everything centered. How does this look overall? Amazing. See? Nothing to it. Alright, this one has been bothering me since the beginning, and now we get to fix it. As soon as the skater pops over here, I want the camera to be low to the ground so that the filmer goes up the ramp with the skater. Let's get this keyframe in. How does this look? There we go. What does that mean? When the camera snaps from one keyframe to the next, they're too close. Now, our priority is the pop and the land. We will sacrifice the one that's mid-air, bring it further down the timeline, and center it properly. Maybe even move in closer. There we go. And remove this one. Does it still work? Sure does. Now for this landing, I want to do something special that I personally like, alright? We're going to move the filmer closer to the skater's line. We're going to move the camera down, and we're going to move the angle so that we have the obstacle we just skated taking up a lot of real estate on screen. This is a perfect standard fisheye shot. This works wonders, alright? I try to have as many of these as possible in my clips. And as for the rest, this is going to be a bit of a tricky one, alright? So, the reason why this happens is because the camera tries to go as fast as possible from this keyframe to this one. And as soon as it reaches it, it tries to smooth out the transition to the next one, which means it has to slowly reduce speed, and that's why that happens. If you're gonna start adding keyframes like this, it won't help. It won't help, alright? So, instead, take a look at this giant gap where there's nothing, alright? This is where you want to add your keyframe before the problem happens. Let's speed the filmer up just a tiny bit, not too much. Let's give them a bit of an angle so they're taking a turn with the skater. Maybe this is gonna work, maybe not. Yeah, it works. And now, much better. We still have clipping because we still have a huge gap here, alright? So let's just get this landing, because that's what we're working on. Pops and lands. Move the camera away. And I think that fixes it. Ah, no it doesn't. Alright, this is where we have to start playing with the middle keyframe here a little bit. Let's get this shot in here. And does it look smooth? Does it look good? That's what I want. That's what DATEN'S probably would have wanted as well. Alright, that is another huge chunk. But since we understand filmer speed now, everything makes sense. Doesn't take much time to do. As we enter the final step, small adjustments. This is the moment where wherever you see something clipping improperly, like this, you can go ahead and fix it, alright? Let's make sure we add a keyframe here at a place where we're far from the other keyframes. Put the camera a little bit where we want it. Follow this line. I remember we were clipping through the boob as well. Let's speed up a little bit. So, are there any keyframes too close? Not really. So, what we can afford to do is go up the boob with the skater. Let's see how that looks now. So remember what I was talking about? When the skater's foot touches the ground, the speed bumps up immediately. This is what it looks like when it's not handled properly. Skater immediately boings up their speed and gets far away from the filmer. If you want to fix this, you're not going to start adding a keyframe closer, because that creates more problems. Alright? Camera, exactly what I mean. So, instead, you're going to take this keyframe for the push, and you're going to have your filmer speed up. Let's see how that looks now. a little better. And that's how you can play with your keyframes, alright? Keep that in mind. A keyframe for each push, a keyframe for each pop and land, and very small, tiny adjustments. And that would be the entire clip. There we go. See, that last phase is where it all comes together, but it takes just a few seconds, 1 or 2 keyframes. Alright, without further ado, let's take a look at the final result. Now, this is a good clean clip in my opinion. We could do much more work on it to make it look amazing, but I just wanted to fix the filming. I wanted to stay true to the original artist's intentions. But honestly, this is good enough for me. And I hope to do another one of these soon with any one of you other peeps. So if you want to send me a clip, hit me up in DMs, wherever you find me, Reddit, YouTube, whatever. Alright, comments, we'll figure it out. Until that time, I'm gonna wish you patience for your practice. I sure needed patience to land this line. And I'll see you in the next one.